To actually talk about a bit of legislation. Parliament is back, and yes, we've had a lot of focus on the expenses row for weeks and weeks now, but there are some reforms that the Parliament is going to be debating over the weeks ahead. Gay marriage is one of them. The government may well try again on its higher education reforms too. It's still got some outstanding changes on welfare that it wants to achieve. And also today, here in Canberra, we've had some of the regional television bosses in town lobbying the government to do something on media reform. At the moment, no TV network, 9, 7, 10, no one can own networks that would give them 100% coverage of Australia. They're limited. It's called the Reach Rule of 75%, which means 9, 7, 10 can't buy some of the regional TV networks. Well, the regional TV networks say unless that changes, they're going to face growing pressure. They're not going to be able to sustain the newsrooms they do in regional areas. And now we're seeing regional MPs worried about this as well. One of them, Ewan Jones, who is the LNP member for Herbert around the town of Townsville in Queensland. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much, David.
So, were you at the meeting today with the regional TV bosses, a whole group of coalition MPs apparently? What was the message?
No, I wasn't in that meeting. I was in the condolence motion today.
Right.
I have been in a previous meeting with the media bosses, and also I was the one that raised it with Malcolm Turnbull in the party room in our last week in Parliament.
So what's your fear? What's your concern?
Well, this all came from when WIN closed down their Mackay news bulletin.
Yep.
Mackay is 400 km south of Townsville. We are worried that WIN came out with the line that they were, the local newsers are in dire straits. It's a major part of their cost structure. If they are losing money, because their argument was it was a one buyer, one seller market. So so much of the advertising is now embedded into TV shows like MasterChef and those sorts of things. They don't get those, and with the catch-up TV, all those other things in there, when they're played, they're getting the metro ads, not the local ads. So they're losing funds. How do they capitalise on that? They cut costs. They can't cut sales teams, so they cut their costs. But you flip that on the other side. From an advertiser's perspective, anyone in the regions is going to want to put their ads on during the news. They are massive raters, and we are very parochial in our news. I don't really want to know what's going on the north side of Brisbane between 6 and 6:30. I want to know what's going on the north side of Townsville.
And fair enough. What guarantee is there, though, if you change the laws and allowed the big metropolitan network, 7, 9 or 10, to buy a regional network, what guarantee is there that they would hold on to that newsroom?
Well, this is the conundrum in which we face. It's also been said that WIN is one of the people that wants to buy one of the big metros, and that's the reason for the change. So there's all those things there. Whichever way you turn this thing, there's the equal and opposing force. So I've been approached by one of the TV channels that doesn't want to change, and my question to them was, after they told me that that they're making so much money in this, they shouldn't be doing this. It's only 4% of their cost structure. It's about the same as their licensing. It's no real big deal. My question to them was, well, why don't you just let them go, and then you'll just swamp them in the regions, and you'll make all the money? And that doesn't seem to be the thing. So I think the Prime Minister has done the right thing here in trying to walk as slowly and as carefully as possible in this, and wait until we can find something there. There seems to be a lot of money to be made.
He wants industry consensus on this before going ahead with anything. Do you think you're ever going to get that?
Well, I think I come at this purely out of self-interest. The chances of Ewan Jones making the channel at the national news, opening up the rotary markets from Townsville, is no real big. Is not a big chance there. It'd be worth it, but it's not a big chance.
Politicians need local coverage.
We need local coverage, and it's every bit as important that when Centrals are playing Burdekin in the local Townsville Rugby League competition, that they're on the news. It's a hugely important thing for local news.
Well, it's about a local voice. I mean, all jokes aside, it really is important for a regional area to have, a local focus and a local voice.
Well, we're a city of 200,000, or nearly 200,000. That's not too far away from Hobart. So they've got an ABC national news. So they've got an ABC news bulletin. We've got 2 local news bulletins. There's enough in there for everyone to make.
You don't get any. What do you get from the ABC? Just the local radio.
We get a local radio in the ABC, and we do pretty well out of that. But and they're very good, especially during cyclones and those sorts of things where they really divert resources. But having that local TV news is a vital part of our community.
So what is your message then to the Prime Minister, to the government on this?
My message is that I come at this completely and utterly out of self-interest, and I think what we're seeing at the moment is every player is come at this completely and utterly out of self-interest. We've got conflicting stories, and I think the Prime Minister is pretty much on the money, where he's sitting there saying, look, until we can start to find some common ground here, there's not much of a role for the government. I think it's a little bit I would suggest it's a little bit disingenuous the way some of these TV ads are rolling around. Where I struggle is with it's very hard when you're standing at the front bar of a hotel in Townsville to explain to them that the reason we may be losing Win TV News is not because they're not making money here, it's because of something that might be happening in Pitt Street in Sydney or something like that. That's the hard part. So we need to be able to get some basic form around which we can work, and then start to build a case as to where we're going to go.
A couple of other issues. The same-sex marriage bill, or marriage equality bill, is this is the cross-party bill that a couple of your colleagues are co-sponsoring. It's due to come up this week, or be introduced this week. The party room will then have to make a decision on whether to allow a conscience vote. You want to see a conscience vote on this?
Very much so. In 2010, we made a very clear statement that there would be no change to the Marriage Act. In 2013 election, Tony Abbott said that it would be up to the party room, and I think we have to be, as Liberals, open to the prospect of empowering the individual. To be anything other than that, I think, is just we might as well change our name to the Conservative Party.
There's a pretty strong push against that, though, from many of your colleagues.
Yeah, but I think they shouldn't be worried. Whether the bill passes or not is another issue. What we stand for is, our party stands for the empowerment of the individual, the power of the individual, the ability to act as individuals. I fail to see how, with Labor, the collective, empowering their guys to have a free vote, how we can't.
I'm interested in your stance on this. I mean, is it driven by your own personal view on the issue, or is there some politics here as well? I mean, how would it play out in your electorate, whichever way this goes?
Well, it'll cost me votes in my electorate supporting this.
If gay marriage gets through.
Yeah, I think because the people on the left that support this are never going to vote for me anyway. They'll support my stance, but they're never going to vote for me. But there are people on the right who have told me that they are objecting to this. So, but I think this is something that I always told people that you've got two guys living next door to you. They're good neighbours. One's a solicitor, one's a carpenter. They're good neighbours. They look after their property and like that. You have no idea how many bedrooms in which they sleep, let alone if they're married or not. And what business is of yours, even if it is? Do
you find, as an MP, that the campaign is nasty from one side or the other, or is it?
No, I haven't found it nasty at all. There are people with, and I've always said, there is no right or wrong with this. There are strongly held opinions, and I respect their opinions. So Eric Abetz is 100% correct in his ability to hold his opinion. It's not my opinion, and I think I respect his right to hold that opinion, but I have a different opinion. And I think that's where I want the argument to be.
Finally, new Speaker elected today, Tony Smith. He won pretty emphatically in the party room this morning. Are you sad to see Bronwyn Bishop go to the backbench and a new Speaker take the chair?
I was a massive supporter of Bronwyn Bishop. Bronwyn Bishop is pure gold in the electorate. She's been to Townsville half a dozen times, and she's been in Townsville where it's been 36 degrees and 90% humidity, and she hasn't even sweated. People are dying around her, but she's still powered through. So, on a personal level, I will miss her greatly in that leadership role. I think Tony Smith's a good man. He's a really good man, and I think he will bring that level of pragmatism. I think he'll bring that level of evenness, and hopefully we'll get a decent parliament out of it.
All right, Ewan Jones, thanks very much for talking to us this afternoon.
Cheers, David.
We're going to get a check of the news headlines now with Helen Dalley.